Hello, adventurers, and welcome to Roll for Bluff, our talk show where we discuss our ongoing Dungeons & Dragons campaign, Bards and Nobles. I'm Sam, your host. I play the wonderful Calmine on our show. To my right, we have Tristan, who plays the mighty Sorn Thunderfist Jotunhai. And to my other side, is Brandon, our awesome DM, who runs the story. And they'll be joining me tonight as my co-host and my bartering tools in tonight's episode.
Wait.
Antagonistic agreements.
Wait.
Agree to this.
Wait. So, where we last left off, the group had finally arrived after a pretty decent journey, all things considered.
That's pretty
not
good.
too arduous.
Unicorn.
Sornicorn!
And had arrived, on the outskirts of what you could see was the front citadel of the civilization. And upon doing just a look around to inspect the area, you noticed some scouts were going in a pattern around. You couldn't tell if they'd seen you already.
Yeah.
Turned out they had not. Until you began to approach them, as in Cal, the postman, and two of his subordinates began to approach them.
Yeah.
And then they immediately were like, "Oh, there are people over there. Let's go check them out."
We're really bad at being scouts.
Yeah.
So yeah, what were you worried about with that?
I wasn't really worried too much. I was kind of like in that moment, like, all right, 4v4 if things go wrong. So, not too bad on those odds. I mean, worst comes to worst, I've got that nice little bracelet on my arm that I can be like, "Hey, Sorn!"
Call in the cavalry.
Reinforcements!
Dun. Hiya!
Just a flying
So at that point, I wasn't really super concerned about that. Even though they did come at us with weapons drawn. I kept my cool.
They are,
they're scouting
They're bandits,
party.
so...
Bad boy scouting party.
Right.
But, it's one of those things where, I think that was going to be the best approach. Because if you snuck in, that was just going to end badly.
Oh, yeah. No.
Versus,
no.
"Hi, we're actually here to talk to you guys." Like, okay.
Have you heard about the Lord and Savior, the postman?
Yeah, sneaking was not going to be advantageous in this situation. So
Postman cannot. He's wearing heavy armor.
Well, not only that, but, in this situation where we're going to go talk to the White Talon, why would we sneak there?
I mean, you could have had the element of surprise to corner the leader and being like, "Okay, here's how this is gonna go."
Yeah, I don't think that would have gone so
Not
well.
with the eventual leader that we...
Anyway, so we talked to these scouts, to where it's revealed that the former leader of the White Talon is unfortunately no longer living, thanks to mysterious sickness. Wonder what that could be. But, Cal was able to kind of talk them into letting her and the postman into their fortified area to talk to the new leader. So
They rode ahead and let them know you were on your way. You were like, "Okay, hopefully this goes well."
right.
And as you go in and walk in, you notice that there are about 25 people in a semicircle just waiting in the main courtyard, being like, "All right, come on in.
Yeah.
Welcome to the party." The door closed.
I mean, it's fortunately Cal had zero intention of fighting, so there wasn't really a need.
That's
for
usually
that.
bad in negotiation.
I mean, it was one of those things that it was like, all right, we're gonna talk or I'm gonna run. there's not gonna be any fighting
Do
here.
you have a teleportation spell?
No. But I can use dash as a bonus action.
Just scrambling up the wall,
yeah.
like,
let me out. Yeah.
Meow. So you eventually were approached by Atticus.
Right.
You'd met him before, the halfling wizard, who you'd encountered back in Sonderheim, part of the original deal that you made with them, who made Sorn walk straight out of the arena.
Right. Which I sort of tried to, play nice with him too, and was sort of like, yeah, that was a cool trick you did.
You stroked his ego, and he was like, "Hey!"
No.
And he, you noticed that odd. I mean, you'd taken a look around. You noticed the amount of people. You also noticed something very important.
The giant glowing orb.
A giant glowing orb of doom.
No, opposite.
Of not doom.
There we go.
Mood.
Mood.
I mean, I guess
It's a mood stone.
Technically, it is a mood stone. It's just the mood is nice.
Yeah, so there is a gigantic glowing orb
on one of the towers.
On one of the towers.
On the top of the main tower.
Just incredibly inconspicuous.
Right.
Just chilling there.
I mean, you didn't really know what it did. You just saw it going. And you
Right.
were like, that's neat.
That looks important.
Let's get back to the matter at hand. Not dying.
Right.
Eventually, you saw somebody at the top tower near the orb look down at you, open up a glider, and glide on down to you, and then land.
Cool entrance.
Right?
Right. 8 out of 10. Cool entrance.
What could have been better?
I mean,
Fireworks?
jetpacks, rocket boots.
This is D&D.
He could have just jumped in like Superman pose, like just
Shattered his knee.
I'm just saying there are better ways, but it was still pretty good.
So he comes down, and it is, from what you can tell, a half-orc wearing a duster and some nice armor, and has a
Half-orc, Clint Eastwood.
Yeah, pretty much. He's a grayish skin, much like the postman's grayish skin, because orcs can vary in color, but his is a more grayish toned skin, very dusty color, and he approached you and introduced himself as the new leader of the White Talon. His name is Marshall.
And this is Marshall's law now.
It was his White Talon, and this is how he talks.
Yep.
He has a nice southern drawl. I mean, that's part of his charm.
Nothing nice about
He's a very
that
interesting character. Kind of started off like with a, who are you? What do you want? Like that kind of thing.
The typical, yeah.
And,
Then he was like, oh, right. That's who you are.
Right.
Oh, yes. And I killed the last leader for being a douche.
Yeah, because at one point it was like, oh, yeah, I heard the last leader died of a sickness. And he was like, yeah, do you know what sickness it was? Knife to the heart. And I was like, oh, bad way to go. Like,
terrible for his family.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, what was your first impression of Marshall?
First impression of Marshall is don't trust this
just
guy.
Don't.
Don't
not
even
every sense of the word.
It's weird because as a player I'm like, oh my god, I love this NPC, but it's very much like with Fox, like I love him, but as the character I'm like, this guy sucks. This guy's gonna be trouble.
Just do the warning, warning.
Ring, ring.
Now, what about you, Tristan? Soren wasn't there, so what were you thinking was gonna happen?
I was like, great, another leader we have to try and talk to, and this one's worse than the last.
The last one was a pompous, he was stuck up and proud.
Yeah, but he felt much more of
we can make a deal.
Right. It was one of those things where he at least seemed like he was listening to logic more often than not. I feel like with Frederick, the original leader, was like, hey, so, Yangyu's kind of a problem. He'd probably be like, you know what? He kind of is. It's like, you know what else is a problem? The King's Guard. He'd be like, you know what? You're right. He's like, you know how you stop that? Join the Postman. You know what? That's a great idea. I feel like the negotiations probably would have went a little smoother.
They probably would have.
But he's dead.
He dead.
Yeah.
He's super dead.
He's super dead.
He's knife in the heart dead. Yeah. They can't really come back from that. Well, I mean, he can.
There are ways, but not anymore.
Anyway.
It's been too long. The conversation began, and after you introduced yourself, he wanted to get the real reason why you were there.
Right.
And we got down to the chase, the postman tried to, chime in and be like, oh, we're here to have you. And he was like, I don't recall talking to you. And then I think that was a good way to set the tone.
Yeah.
That Marshall was like, I am talking to the lady. Interrupt me and see what happens.
I want to talk to the pretty tiefling lady.
Yeah.
I mean, I personally, that's one of my favorite tactics to do is, set up a character, have it so it's like, oh, I'm gonna interject and I'm gonna join, and then have the character be like, shut up. I'm more important than you. In a way that's not like, oh, I'm so fancy and important. He was just a dick.
Yeah.
So the conversation, Nick, take us through it.
So, the conversation started out with Cal was sort of like, so yeah, there's this situation with this demon lord and trying to convince them, to help for the purpose of their own survival, but he kind of already had a plan in place with that nice
Were you expecting that?
Shiny orb. I mean, I wasn't sure what to expect, honestly. Sitting there thinking about it, as a player, like, well, these guys have been at this base for a while, and Yangu has been at this base for a while. Like, so either there was some sort of collusion between the two groups, or they had figured some stuff out to help themselves out. So I guess I wasn't really surprised so much as, like, I didn't know exactly what it was going to be like.
I think as a player, like in my position, I was sitting there going like, he may think he's got it planned out, but he's not Yangu.
That's true.
Yeah.
So it was like, we'll be fine. I'm like, will you?
Yeah, and that's what I was kind of trying to press was like, so this demon is not just gonna let a bunch of like lowly humanoids like just sit there, and like
your orb won't get you.
Like there's gonna be some point in time where Yangu's gonna be like, oh, I'm just gonna squish them, like it was gonna happen. But they kind of rebuffed that a little bit, and so Cal had to sort of take a moment and
figure out more.
Take a step back.
Because you were trying to figure out what the postman's actual deal was.
Yeah, because we hadn't really talked about that.
And so you had to like take a moment to like figure it out, and that's when you were like, beep, 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 beep. Hey guys.
Guys help.
It's like,
guys help.
I don't know if they're going to take the deal, and that's where Son was like, did you tell them about the King's Guard and know where they are?
Oh yeah, the King's Guard. Because, on Cal's list of priorities, it's like Yangu, Titavilis, all this other shit, and then King's Guard. Like, they're way down there. So,
well, because didn't even Marshall mention that, like, the King's Guard they don't even know where we are?
I don't know if he actually mentioned that.
He doesn't know where, they don't know where Marshall is.
Well, I mean, even before Cal brought it up, I think he brought him up at one point as, like, such nonchalant, and that's why I'm like, that would have been a good time to do it. She forgot about it. Oh, no!
Yeah.
And so it was one of those things where Sorn, I'm glad that Sorn had the chance to be like to talk about the King's Guard, because that's kind of important. They may not care about Yangu, but if they know where other people are very much hunting for them, know exactly where they are, Because I think at one point he was like, Yangu ain't getting in here. I'm like, how about the King's Guard? They're not affected by your big orb.
Yeah. I mean, so that was a good idea.
You also learned Devin was willing to just...
Yeah, which, by the way, Cal was like, no, don't let him, don't.
He was even also telling us that they would show up with siege weapons. Like, it wouldn't just be like, we'll be fine inside this fortress. It's like, no, you won't. They will show up with siege weapons.
We also learned from Francesca that the big glowing orb of Mood is like the eye of the gods.
That's what the relic is referred as.
Which I'm assuming is some sort of radiant holy relic that keeps out demonic entities and beings. And
boy, howdy. You're so good at that.
We knew the name of it and how it was powered through Francesca, so when you came back to negotiations, you could name drop and catch him a little off guard.
Yeah, he was not expecting you to know the name of the relic because he considered you a big dummy.
Yeah, so Cal's tactics, is... all of my enemies think I'm an idiot. That's great, because they'll always underestimate.
They're pretty sure all the Stormbreakers are idiots.
I mean, Cal is kind of an idiot. I think a lot of the times the Stormbreakers as a whole are kind of idiots. We just get lucky do.
They think you're some oafs that just get like lucky shots and like your ghost shows up to things and it's the inopportune for them.
Which is freaking great, because that means they will always underestimate us. So Cal is not sitting here going like, oh, let me show you all of my intelligent things. Like, Cal's more like, yes, think I'm an idiot. That's perfect. I'm so stupid. I don't know what I'm doing.
Everyone's going to think you're an idiot until you defeat Yangu, and then they're going to be like...
hold up.
Wait a second.
Yeah. So once we came back, Cal was sort of like, so the guardsmen might be a problem. And Marshall was like, what do you mean? And Cal was like, well, they know where you are.
But then he specified, do they know where I am or do they know where we are?
Which I didn't know, but I'm assuming they know where the White Talon is. He is the head of the White Talon.
And I think that's something that gives, like, reasonable doubt.
Right.
That it could pose a problem.
So, like, it could have been something where he could be like, well, okay, they might know me, they might know where I am. Do I take the chance and let them come here and I'm here, or do I, like, lead them off?
Right. And then, use that, name dropped the orb of the whatevers, and...
the eye of the god.
To which he was like, oh, how did you know that? And Cal was like, I know things sometimes, and he was like, yeah, you have people that told you, and Cal was like, you're not wrong.
Immediately, it was like, you know the name of the gods. Like, haha, yes I do. Someone told you.
Yeah.
Could have tried to decipher.
You know, I could have tried to decept. I could have tried deception. Could have tried lying. But I very much went into this. Cal was like, very much went into this. Was like, don't screw this up. Don't screw this up. Don't screw this up.
I mean, up to this point, you hadn't.
Right. So that worked. And then we started talking about the postman situation, like how they would manage to, you know, sort of hide from the King's Guard by becoming postmen and doing sort of the underground, shadier side of postal service delivery.
That could be lucrative for
right,
them.
that could be lucrative for them. You know, when we started, you know, sort of haggling percentages and all this other thing. And I mean, eventually we reached a sort of accord.
With the postman, and then the only thing he added was, if I'm going to work with the postman, I want the Stormbreakers on retainer.
Right, to which Cal was like, I could just say yes, but every time I just say yes, I get yelled at, so I'm going to ask.
And that, to Soren got upset that the deal was even being considered, but to Cal's credit, she did ask.
Yes.
It's not like she was like, I'm doing it.
I had really thought of just saying yes, but then I was like, let me not take away the bodily autonomy of my friends. Like, let me ask. So, you know, he was like, oh, well, you know, you can ask the Stormbreakers, do it right here, because he wanted to know how I was communicating with them.
And immediately you were like, oh.
And I was like, this thing, bing! You know, shiny little bracelet.
And he was like, oh, that's neat.
Right? He's like, I want one.
I
want one real bad.
Can I get one and be on your comm link?
God.
No. That was bad.
You're not in our top 5.
So, you know, Cal sort of went back and forth with the Stormbreakers, and at one point, you know, sort of said something in Thieves' Cant to lay on about, like, I don't think we're going to get a better deal than this. Not that she didn't want the rest of the Stormbreakers to understand. She didn't want...
She didn't want to show her hand.
Him to understand. Yeah, I was trying not to necessarily be lying, but not to also be like, guys, we got nothing. You know what I mean?
If you said, I think it's going to rain, to which Soren was like, it's already raining.
Mm-hmm.
It is raining currently. And that's when your brain was like, wait, it is raining. It's not raining in here, though.
Right. Now, whether or not Marshall understood Thieves' Cant is an entirely different story, but that was a risk that I was willing to take. So Paid off. Yeah, fortunately.
Leon responded in Thieves' Cant.
Good thing I brought an umbrella.
And everyone was like, what do you mean? And that's when
when Leon was like...
The entire party was like, oh, wait. Like, we don't... And Leon was like, I don't need to speak in Thieves' Cant back to you. He can't hear me.
Right.
Take the deal. Oh.
Yeah, like he had to stop and explain it. Like,
yeah.
Oh.
That's what you mean.
So we wound up sort of negotiating that, too, because Cal was like, all right, what do you mean? How often are we going to have to do things for you? Because if this was going to be one of those things where the Stormbreakers had to be on retainer like 365 days a year, hell no. Not worth it. So, 5 times a year, which Cal's like, that's not a whole lot. That's one hand.
Then we had to clarify what it would be called upon. Because Soren, there was no way Soren was going to hear like, oh yes, if you could just show up and help us do illegal activities.
Just murder that man.
Just help us do murder.
And then Soren's going to be like, no, I will murder you.
Yeah.
And then break the deal, then everything's off. Oh, no!
So he agreed to 5 times a year to do things to locate or move objects, and then protection.
Yeah, pretty much you are going to be his survey crew and expedition crew and bodyguards. So if he wants something, if he wants a magical artifact from somewhere, the Stormbreakers are going to be his go-to people. Oh, I don't want to go into that volcano. I'll send the Stormbreakers in.
Well, we never found it. Sorry.
And that he would be like, sure. After the 4th time of you going, we didn't find it, he'd be like, all right, so I'm going to need you all to show me everything you own. If you hide anything, it will be bad.
Yeah.
Here's the volcano. What?
So after that, we had kind of struck this deal. But he also, for, letting us in, wanted us to take care of some beastie in like the door to the entrance to the mountains, which Cal was like, sure, we can fight a thing.
He was surprised you didn't even fight. She didn't have to strong arm you.
I mean,
I think Cal was just like, I'm kind of in a rough spot. What am I gonna say?
yeah,
Say
it
no
was
and
like
have him murder
there
us?
was like 75 White Talon guys, and this guy who's obviously like outmatched for Cal alone. So it's one of those things. There's like, what are my realistic options here? Because there's not a lot of them.
The power balance was like, you guys, him.
Right. So, in a lot of ways, I think it was just one of those, like, Cal didn't need to be strong-armed. Cal just needed things to be reasonable. So as long as things could be made reasonable, she would accept. Like,
And
that
As
was
you
the thing.
learn, Marshall is a reasonable man. He is. I mean, he is though. He hasn't asked for a single thing that's been unreasonable.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
But he hasn't so far. He hasn't gone too far off the deep end with what he's asked.
Right. No, you're not wrong. So Cal was like, okay, yeah. And then he was like, okay, you can take 2 of the people that you're with, which was the postman and 2 postmen. And Cal was like, actually,
Can I switch these out?
can
for
I
the
swap them
Stormbreakers?
out for the Stormbreakers? And he was like, okay, but there's catch.
And you were like, ugh, there's so many layers to this deal.
I'm like, simplify it. What do you want? Basically, I think he just wanted to humiliate the postman.
Oh, he did.
Yeah.
So I assume this is where it's the race thing, because the postman being an orc, he did mention like something like half-breed, and as a
Yeah.
half-orc, he probably resents orcs for hating his kind.
Yeah.
So
Also, he just wanted to rub it in the new boss's face.
I have my own theory about that. I think Marshall's going to try to take over the postman, but we'll see what happens.
So Marshall, so far, he does not respect the postman.
Yeah, as far as we can tell. So he basically was like, okay, I'm going to hold him hostage, and he's going to be naked. And we're like, and Cal's like, are you okay with that to the postman? Because,
he's like, "Oh, gosh."
Postman was just like, we don't have another option right now.
and I was like, great, do it.
Deal. So then you guys cut your hands, made the blood mark.
Yeah, lovely little blood pact, which I'm totally ecstatic about.
Another deal.
Nothing magical happened.
Yeah, that
You,
we know of.
It would have immediately taken effect once everyone put their blood mark on it.
Oh.
If it would have been some sort of blood pact that was magical backing, it would have been immediately apparent. Because the only time a symbol will appear or something will happen.
I don't care. It was weird. Anyway, so we made this blood pact because Sorted brought up a good point. Make sure you get everything in writing.
Because she was like, come on in, guys. We're like, wait,
Right.
have they disbanded as the White Talon yet?
Right, we had to have them like agree that they were no longer the White Talon, they were the Postmen because of the situation we had with the King's Guard of being like not allowed to associate with the White Talon. So, in this event, like if the King's Guard ever came up to Cal and was like, "Hey, did you talk to the White Talon?" Cal could be like, "No, I talked to the Postman." And technically I wouldn't have to deceive anybody. Technically. So, there's kind of that
Moral gray
blurred
area.
lines there. So the postman got naked. Good time was had by all. The Stormbreakers came on in. We sent the other 2 postmen out back to the encampment. And we went and we fought a thing.
Yes, we went into a big old hole in the mountain to walk down a tunnel filled with bioluminescent algae.
Which was kind of cool.
And the algae formed into runes and script on the wall and made a nice pathway.
Yeah. So we walked down the pathway. There was a big stone door at the end, which Sword Thunderfist Jotunhai with all of Thor's glory.
It wasn't really like, it was more like,
Pushed it
Now,
open.
here's a question. Can you tell us what the door said in Selbin? Because it said something in Selbin, and of course, the one person that could possibly have something that could read Selbin didn't roll high enough.
No, so I'm not going to tell you what it says in Sylvan because you can still have a chance. Someone who is in your traveling party can read Sylvan.
Okay. Good to know.
Not in the Stormbreakers, but somebody in the group
Oh, somewhere. Okay.
can read Sylvan.
Anyway, so we went through the
Jessica.
doors, and what we saw was a bunch of, bodies covered in this bioluminescent moss as well as sort of this like sleepy stone giant.
It was just, like
It was a statue.
There was
Very
a
statue.
There was a recessed part on the one side of the wall, on the western wall, that was recessed, but nothing was in it. And on the eastern wall was a similar shape, but it was there in the wall.
Right. Which I'm assuming we're gonna have to deal with that later. But so Cal and Leon were kind of like, let's try these bodies out. So Cal did Eldritch Blast, which just took one of the bodies and ragdolled it.
I'm just imagining like Eldritch Blast.
And then Leon.
And then
was
Leon
like
did
Sacred Flame.
Yeah, Sacred Flame, which
Firebolt.
Firebolt,
Sorry,
which I'm
Firebolt.
assuming the fire was what awoken the body.
Oh yeah.
Because that's where 5 undead stood up in a giant stone thing.
Stone Golem.
It was technically it was a stone giant, but it was made.
Okay,
Right.
so it was like a
Golem,
construct.
So
So a giant stone knight.
kind of, yeah. And the bioluminescent algae was kind of their since you're gonna maybe see more, who knows? But
Yeah.
the bioluminescent algae was being controlled by the giant.
And I assume that's what the sweet smell was.
Yes.
Yeah.
The sweet smell because actually no, I'm gonna leave that. I don't want to spoil that. That's
Okay.
important.
That for a future episode.
Fair enough. We can discuss more of it because I've got some theories about that too. But we'll discuss more of that in another episode.
But yeah, things started waking up.
Yeah, things started waking up.
There was
So
a bunch of undead tabaxi.
we kind of immediately started in a bad position because of our initiative rolls, where the stone giant
Even
sort
with
of
us rolling high.
semi-blocked.
2 natural 20s on their side.
The big guy semi-blocked the door, like not blocked the door, but enough that it made it like a pain in the butt
He
for
unfortunately
everybody to
couldn't
get in.
make it to the door. If he
It's-
would have, he would have just been like,
We just were like, bye. Just backtrack.
I mean, I would have just backed up and been like, "Witch bolt."
and they would have closed the door.
I mean,
Dang it!
open
Just
the
wait a
door
little
again.
bit, open it back up. Alright, I think they're sleeping.
Right.
Right.
But so eventually, Soren was able to get in, and then Liren, and then Leon, and then Cal, and
We because I right at the bat, I told everyone to spread out.
which was hard.
because they blocked us all off.
Yeah. But we did eventually manage to kind of spread out a little bit after a few rounds, which was beneficial. I mean, except for one point when the giant started hurling rocks.
Oh,
and 3 members
best
of our
thing,
party
okay.
had to-
But before that, I mean, we had moments where Liren used her rapier's weapon.
Yeah.
This is where we saw that radiant energy was really affecting the undead.
Yeah.
That
Radiant energy affecting undead.
Weird.
Who knew? Who would have guessed?
But that's good
Who
knowledge
possibly
for
could have
someone
known?
like Leon or Zeke, whoever you want
Who
to say.
wouldn't know that? Yeah.
He was because he was like, wait, it was the radiant. I have things that do radiant.
How about that?
I
Guess-
can actually do some damage.
Guess who has things that do like damage to these things?
A divine soul sorcerer.
Yeah. So once that was kind of figured out, it was kind of like dominoes from there. Taking one down with the
Right,
other.
and because the last, because that was where the giant was like, time to stop everything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
They have the ability where, depending on how long they meditate, and he was meditating for a long time, they can cast certain spells, and the highest one they can cast is Time Stop. And he hits 1d4 plus 1 turns. As long as he doesn't go 1,000 feet away from where he started, time will stay stopped. So yeah, he time stopped, and you guys got really lucky.
Yeah, we did.
Because if he had more turns, because it was 2 turns, one for every rock, like each rock. So if he had 5 turns, he would have had a pile of rocks,
Yeah.
and then just kicked in. Whoosh, next turn. Whoosh, whoosh.
I mean, to be fair though, of all the level 9 spells that could have been cast, it was not the worst.
This is
far.
where I feel that it was the worst, but he just didn't roll high enough for it to give us the worst.
I mean,
Oh
don't
my
get
god!
me
If he
wrong.
would have had 5 rocks, he would have taken you all out.
Don't get me wrong. It could have been worse.
Yes.
But could have been worse.
Because they do 4d10 plus 10 damage.
Yeah.
So
3 members of the party got hit with that.
the only one who didn't was you.
Cal,
Yeah.
because guy was far enough north.
There was
Either
not-
way.
He was bowling for as many numbers as he can get.
But then he crushed the tabaxis that were helping him.
Yeah, which was also fortunate.
Yeah, helped us out.
But we wound up taking him down, and one of the
Absolutely.
stipulations of Marshall's agreement was that we bring him the head of this creature.
Now, something should be noted about the stone giant is once we had defeated him because Sorn cracked his chest open. There is a mummified person on the inside that is sitting there, which I theorize is the source of energy was a member of the society whose main goal was that, which then leads me to believe, and this is slightly off topic, but I am fairly certain there is a person inside the Eye of the Gods.
Who knows?
Who knows?
Only one person.
Only
knows.
one person. Well,
and I say that only because they need a constant source of holy energy. And if a golem, some form of kind of like a stone golem is sitting there with a person who is probably a source of energy sitting in there, something tells me that there is just some kind of like cleric or something inside the Eye of the God supplying holy energy.
But we'll have to find that out on another episode.
Right, just yank him out.
Yeah, do that, please.
Yeah.
Please, next episode, just ruin the Eye of the Gods. I want to see that. You guys want to fight Yangu 2 sessions or anything?
No. So, we managed to use our mage hands to throw some ropes around it and make it a lot easier to pull the head of this creature out of there.
Arcane hack.
Right.
The wording on Mage Hand specifically says that Mage Hand cannot attack. If it goes outside of 30 feet of the range, it disappears. It can pull and lift or it can lift up to 30 pounds. It can pull anything. So, attaching ropes to a large object, such as a giant head, and letting the Mage Hands pull, it will go slow. Because it has to pull, and there's the magical 30 feet. But it can pull an indefinite amount of weight.
Right. And it's only lifting the 5-pound rope.
Right. So with our 3 mage hands, we made some pretty good work on that. After like the first time, because we realized there was a certain amount of time, only a minute for the mage hands, that they would stop and somebody would have to be behind the boulder. Cal was like, wait, you start your mage hand 5 seconds after I start my mage hand, so that way we have a constant mage hand going, like, at all times, so that we don't have to do the whole, like, no, don't kill this giant stone rock that's sliding backwards down the slope.
Crushed.
Right. So we managed to get it back up, sort of like just knocked on the door and...
Oh, hello.
Atticus opened it back up with Earth and Paul.
And we're like, we got your thing.
And he's like, oh.
Oh, wow, that is astounding.
That's a giant head.
It's dark in there now.
Yeah.
Yes, because once we defeated the I keep on just calling it a golem.
You can pretty much.
Yeah.
Once they defeated
it's like a golem suit.
Once we defeated the construct,
the stone mech,
the bioluminescence sort of powered out.
So everything got really dark except for
dancing
Liren going bloop. There's the light.
Yeah. So we got back up, and we did it. And went to go talk to Marshall again and was basically like, there's your head.
And he was like, oh.
Oh, that was easy.
Yeah.
So he was pleasantly surprised knowing that you guys did it in as short as you did and none of you died.
He was like, I made a good decision.
Right, he was impressed that none of you died. He was like, they're a little bit stronger than I thought.
See, I'm guessing that he had several people die trying to...
Oh, most assuredly.
Good.
So, you all survived.
Yeah.
Yeah, so and after that he agreed, his end of the bargain was, 1, give Postman back his stuff and not be naked, and 2, allow your entire group to be in the east wing of the
Fortress,
the Citadel or Fortress.
Yeah.
While we get ready to do our thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which then led to a conversation between Cal and Marshall again.
Right.
Yeah, take it away.
So Cal and Marshall wound up talking in private in Marshall's room, whatever. Don't know how they got there. And
you flirted with them slightly.
You flirted hardcore with them.
Okay, yeah, flirted.
You were hoping to get something out of it by just using your
yes,
your
a little bit.
assets,
I wasn't trying super hard, but just a little bit.
Testing the waters.
Yeah. Which we started talking and. He kind of wanted to try to feel the Stormbreakers out, like sort of like see what our strengths were, what our weaknesses were.
Well, I think the thing that sparked it was he made it clear that he wants artifacts, and you're like, oh, about that. There's an artifact that we want.
The sword,
right?
And you were like, yeah, and you're like, I figured.
Yeah. Everyone, people seem to know about this sword more than we do.
Right. So with that being said, Cal was like, okay, you know about the sword. You probably want the sword. I don't want you to have the sword because I need the sword. So I need to talk you out of this some way or somehow. Which...
Well, he just wanted to put it on the mantle, which I think bothered me. I was like,
he said that, but it's not like I did an insight check.
Well, no, but just the way it's said, it's like, that's a sword designed to smite evil.
He just wanted to say, I have it.
Yeah.
Like, don't try me. I have it.
He was like, okay. You're like, let's just be a personal favor. And he was like, oh, we're on the level of personal favors now. And that's...
But then he came back with like, I don't mix business and pleasure yet. And you're like, crap.
Oh,
yeah.
No.
Yeah.
He means an actual deal.
He means an actual favor, which...
He asked him. He also wanted some information about
Right.
the Stormbreakers, about your, like I said, the strength, the weaknesses.
Which, honestly, I didn't really feel like I gave up anything that wasn't already known. To be fair.
I mean, there are some things that he is interested to know.
Yeah.
He wanted also confirming suspicion is still giving information.
Yeah. But, I mean, it's not like I was sitting there going, like, oh, Leon's got Shalik in his hand, and Sword's God helps him with his thunderous powers, and, it's not like I was doing that. I was being like, well, Sorn smash, Cal drink, Leon slink, and Lirin snarky. Like, that was more or less what I gave him, I was trying not to give anything too...
And then he asked your strength, and that's when you learned something about him.
Yes. Yeah, so I learned that he is also a warlock.
Not just that.
And he asked me, he was like, you seem like you've gained some magical abilities, and I just said, I'm gifted, because that wasn't technically a lie, it was gifted to me. He was like, oh, by a warlock patron, and I'm like, well, you caught me. And
well, I see you know the lingo.
and he's like, so who's your patron? And I was like, tit for tat, I'll tell you, you tell me. So I, knowing very well that if it was somebody that would have been like opposing to mine, it could have gone very wrong. Wound up, we have the same patron, according to him. Didn't do an insight check on that, but
I mean, he showed you the mark of
He
Azazel.
has an apparent mark of Azazel. I didn't check that either.
Titavilis. Like, no!
That'd be terrible.
And you better believe that Cal's gonna confirm that crap with Azazel.
Zazers! What the heck,
Yo,
bro?
Z-Man!
And then he was like, so has Azazel talked to you about what's about to happen here shortly in time?
No.
And you were like, he mentioned something, what?
He said words and stuff, but yeah.
He was like, oh, I'm not going to take that thunder away from him. I'm going to let him fill you in.
Yeah. I'm assuming it has to do with what Azazel had talked about last time with the competition between...
Yeah, and you now know total, including yourself, three warlocks with him as patron.
Right. Which would be me, Dalmine, and now Marshall. Which I'm assuming that's going to be problematic at some point. Or
and he said there are 5 of us then.
Right, so there's 2 that I'm missing.
The Power 5.
Right.
The Almighty 5?
So that was kind of revealed. I'm trying to think of
and he was very, he flirted with you a little bit, but he also, he was like, I have you under my thumb right now. There's not much you can do. But he's like, fine. If you don't take that sword by the time you kill Yangu, I will take that as forfeit, and I will go and collect it.
And I was like, okay, that's fair enough. Which just means we need to find the sword, which was kind of our whole plan in the first place. So
yeah, the goal was to find the sword before we go.
I mean, technically, though, we still have a week and a half.
Yeah.
So we have time.
That's the thing about being a DM and knowing what your plan is and not having NPCs go against that plan. He doesn't have any idea of what your plan is.
Right.
Only one person knows your true plan, and that's Fox, because
he's the one
he set you on the deal.
Right.
So he is going under the assumption of
eventually get it.
They're just gonna go kill Yangu, and if they find it, they find it. If not, they're not.
Right.
They're gonna look for it, but if they're not, they don't probably want to spend too much time because he doesn't know your time schedule. He thinks like, oh, you're gonna do it now.
Right.
So, so he was acting on the impulse that, oh, I have time. Then if they are gonna quickly go up there and dispatch them, they're probably not gonna look around that entire civilization for it. So
Yeah, we are.
Well, so he agreed, which is great. And then, after Cal had, told him some things, he was like, well, I asked you 2 questions. You can ask me some questions. And Cal was like, I'm going to save my questions for later.
Which isn't a terrible idea.
Which, yes, because I was like, I'll just tuck those into my, open and emergency situations pocket. And I mean, that was pretty much the conversation.
he did
outside
have you
of
ask one question. He made you ask one question.
Yeah, which I mean I pretty much was like, I don't really know what a good question is to ask him right now. So I just sort of asked him, like, how do I know I can trust you? Which wasn't really answered, but is what it is.
Which tells you all you need to know. Like,
yeah, which really tells me what I already knew, which, like, you can't. So, okay, fair enough.
You learn. I mean, he said it twice. He said, I have 3 rules. Keep your house tidy, keep your business clean.
And kill anyone that betrays you.
Pretty much. He has 3 tenets, and those are them.
That does not tell me I can trust him.
He's got like 2 levels in
But
Paladin.
if that's a genuine thing for him, then that just means that, okay, don't betray him, like, and you're fine.
Yeah.
If you don't break my trust, then I have no reason to not trust you.
Is it going to be one of those things where it's Fox and, like, the slightest little thing is going to set him off and break his trust? Or is it going to be one of those things where he's more like, well, don't sell me out to the fucking guards, you idiot. Like,
yeah,
that's,
don't sell me to the police and I won't have to have the entire White Talon come and kill you.
So it's like, what is his level of betrayal? I haven't found that out yet.
You can find that out through time, or you can use a question.
Yeah, I can.
You have the 2.
I'm not going to waste a question on that, though. A trial and error. Trial and error.
Just a little bit and see what happens.
Push my boundaries a little, see where that goes. So we wound up. Oh, I did wound up asking him if he could provide us with a map of where he's been in the underground area. He did say that it might not be reliable, which Cal was like, okay, that's fair, but it could be a possible guideline, so we can kind of at least use some of that.
And then you guys went downstairs or back down to the party.
Liren was hammered and dancing on tables.
Liren had a great time.
Someone approached Liren and she was like, ew.
Leon got drunk.
And then...
Because he was originally going to grab, like, a drink and head back, but then Liren, like, convinced him to stay.
Cal had a drink and then went back.
Sorn
didn't have a drink.
Oh, but that's not what we're talking about.
I know.
We're not talking about
No, I know we're not. I'm saying Sorn did not have a drink and he went to the barracks with the rest of the caravan to help get everyone organized.
And was approached by Kikyo.
All right. And Kikyo was trying to talk about, like, after this we should go home. And first off, this needs to be clear because everyone keeps making fun of it. Sorn is so stressed out right now. More than anyone else.
We understand that, but that in the game reality, there are certain, like, people get there's stress going on, but also, like, they're gonna have wants and needs outside of that.
They will, yes.
They're gonna act on those.
Right. But Sorn has his own needs, and sometimes his feelings need to matter.
Welcome to the big emotional baby.
Good job, Barbarian.
The Barbarian is the emotional one in the group, which actually makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Kikyo
was talking about, like, after this we can go home, and Sorn was like, I can't go home. I've been banished. But Jeroen said he'd let you, like, no, he's not going to be a king that goes back on his word. But Jeroen will be fine with it, and Sorn was kind of like, I'm not going to fit in with the Goliaths anymore. I'm too drastically different from what they are now. And she was like, oh.
He broke her heart. It was brutal.
She's taking it that he doesn't want to be with her.
Brutal.
Whereas in his head, all he was saying was that he wouldn't fit in with the Goliaths.
And this is why communication is key, because that communication did not come across.
Well, maybe you should just listen better.
What do you mean? You said something and...
He said that he wouldn't fit in with the Goliath clan anymore.
And she is what?
She's in the Goliath, but she would have...
She's part of the clans then.
I mean...
Men, am I right?
He didn't say anything wrong.
You didn't say anything wrong, but to her...
She took it as he did not want to.
Women, am I right?
Right. So pretty much miscommunication. She was like, all right, and then just walked away, and everyone was at the table was like, Oh no!
Yeah, we were like, wah, 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 wah.
And for the record, Soren has no idea how to talk to women, so it
It's
makes
just
sense.
compounding power.
It's just a
That's
compound.
fine. That's fine. I'm sure it'll be better at some point.
And again,
Maybe.
Soren's not even like he's saying things he's not thinking because he's so focused on everything else. He's fairly certain he's going to die in this battle, which is fine to some degree to him. They're like, yes, I'll die and go to Valhalla. That'll be dope. But he's already stressing out. He's got all these demon things, and if he dies in this battle, there's part of him that's really worried that if he dies, his pact with the thing is still going to keep him from being able to do things. Like, if he dies in battle, the pact with Fox...
He's worried about his soul getting taken down rather than
going to Valhalla, yeah. Because,
But I don't think Fox necessarily has a claim on your soul if you die in battle, though.
You don't know.
These are things Soren thinks about.
Yeah, well, don't die. That's it.
Yeah, that's him, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I could see it where he'd start to drag it down until somebody like, oh, look, there's the final loading you. There you go, big guy.
Yeah.
All right, good job, fuck you.
So Soren's mind is everywhere. He's dealing with everything else. Like he's trying to be that, for lack of a better term, he's trying to be that dad of this Stormbreaker group where everyone's already been falling apart. With like Cornelius dying, Cal losing it, Leon being like the child that's too dumb to really care about what he's doing,
Right.
just causing problems. Yeah, and
He's gotten better a little bit.
Bilal has left. Rhaegorn has left. Bilal turning kind of into a jerk in this situation. Rhaegorn definitely becoming a jerk by leaving and coming back with a new group, seeming like, yeah, everything's fine. Don't care about your stuff anymore. We're going to beat you in this drinking contest, though. Screw you guys. And it's like, what the heck, bro? No, and like,
So it's all compounding together for there's going to be a cathartic release when Yangu's dead and everything's done.
if we get there.
If
If it's good.
If it's good.
If it's good.
So yeah, that pretty much wrapped it up. Leon made it back, and we're gonna find out what happened to Lyran.
Because
She's gonna
somebody
did not
make her con save.
Well, no. They both failed their con saves.
One had better
They
luck.
had odds and evens on if, or no, it was 1 through 4 where they ended up, and we found out that Leon made it back to the cabin, but
I'm really curious where Lyran ended up. I really it's the one.
there's
It's
part
the
of me
one
that's
thing I
kind of
wanna know
hoping
more
it's in
than
like
anything.
Marshall's chambers or something.
Oh, that'd be fucking hilarious.
I feel like that would make Cal mad.
No.
Nah, she'd just be like,
No, I wouldn't make Cal mad. Cal would
like,
laugh.
there's your personal favor, bye.
Yeah. They're like, my gift to you. Doodles.
The blue lady, bye.
Yeah.
It really pushes
And-
boundary.
Yeah, so that's where we left off with characters attempting to go to bed.
Yeah.
And then you guys are gonna,
Wake up and then
Well,
dive,
wake up,
dive.
have to wait for the map if we really want it, and then go
Dungeon
dungeon
delve.
diving.
Yeah.
So, that should be fun. Next episode, getting to spend most of our time in combat.
which,
Yay.
yeah, who knows? It depends on what
How
you
many
guys
rooms
do.
we go into?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm assuming this place is huge. Yay.
So-
Anyway.
That'll be not, unfortunately, tomorrow.
No.
Tomorrow, however, will be a performance check featuring yours truly and yours truly, but not that guy, because that guy won't be
And
here.
replacing that guy is Zeke.
Right. So it'll be the 3 amigos, and we'll be playing something. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Let us know as soon as you see this episode. Let us know in the comments what we're gonna play tomorrow. It's gonna be really short notice, but it's still something.
Tell us what you want to see tomorrow. Let us know. Shoot us a message. DM the DM. DM the SM. It doesn't really matter. Shoot us a thing.
The
Anyway. Yes. The SM. The Sam Master.
Oh, okay.
Master of Sams.
Didn't think I needed to explain that. It's kind of obvious.
He's a barbarian.
I know. It's okay.
I'm all rage and instinct, nothing else.
You're just a bundle of emotions.
Yep. I
Anyway,
am.
we will see you guys tomorrow night, and then we will see you for our next episode next Friday. So, until then, bye.
Bye.